This video is sort of a follow-up to my other video. It was about the PS Vita and why I thought the system has been failing in the market. And it's funny, I have a lot of people hating on the video. Well, first off, it's just my opinion. It's nothing more. We all have our opinions. Doesn't mean I'm right. Doesn't mean I'm wrong. It's just my view on the situation. And I'll stick by that view. So I really don't understand the hate when it's just an opinion. And to me, it's all about sales numbers and money. And in that regard, the Vita is a failure. And my view is not about, oh, look at all the fancy graphics versus a tablet. Look at all the fancy games you could get versus a smartphone. It's about, is the PS Vita selling sales numbers? How many units does it sell a year? That determines its success rate. Not quality of games, not how fancy the games are. Sales numbers. That is the real bottom line. And so when people are posting in comments, well, we're going to have this game in the future and that game in the future, my point is, it doesn't matter if you can't sell enough copies. It's not about the quality of the game, it's about the quality of the sales numbers, or the lack of it. And in that way, I feel the PS Vita is going to go the way of the PS Go. Remember that? It had big hype. It was supposed to be the next PSP version. Supposed to capture that audience. It failed to capture that audience. And it went away quickly, the PS Go. I failed to point out on my other video, and the reason I'm making this also is because when you talk about the success of the PSP and the early Nintendo systems, one reason I think the PSP lasted so long and was so successful, as well as the Nintendo handhelds, and why now the PS Vita is not going to be as successful as the PSP, is because when the PSP started, this is years ago, there was no smartphones and there were no tablets that could play video games. That market of gaming on the handheld units did not exist back then. And it is my theory, and only my theory, that if smartphones and iPads existed years ago when the PSP first came out, that the PSP would never have been as successful as it became, because back then there was no competition. Now there's competition in the handheld market. And another reason that the PSP has lasted so long is because of the underground hacking community that hacked the system to run emulators on it from the Nintendo 8-bit, the SNES, the Genesis, and some other and all those old systems can be played on the PSP from hacked programs. And the PS Vita is not hackable, and probably won't be, because the PS3 is not really hackable either. And that lack of hacking is why, you know, there's no sales as much. If it was hacked, I'm sure, like the PSP, it would have lasted a much longer time on the market. The PS Go was not hackable, and that's why that system also didn't last long. So that's the points here, just to follow up. I think about the hackability factor, as well as the fact that back then there was no competition on the handheld market for handheld systems like the PSP, and that's why they lasted so long. It's just my opinion on it. I still say at the end of the day, the PS Vita will be a failure of a system in terms of sales numbers. And also, just as a developer, just as purely as a game developer, let's say, the big money is on PS3 and then PS4 games. So if you're a developer and you want big money, your first option is a PS3 to develop a game for, or PS4. Your first option is not to develop a game for the PS Vita. That's a step backwards. And in that regard, I think developers look at the PS Vita as a second-hand unit because the first-hand unit that you want sales for is your PS3 or PS4 games. That's where the big money is. So from a developer standpoint, it doesn't make sense to support the Vita first. That's like an aftermarket when your main market is satisfied. And again, if you're going to be dropping $200-300 or whatever, you might as well save that money and support buying a PS4 instead. Just my opinion. Nothing more than that. Comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching.